How do you balance true artistry with trends that change literally overnight?
I stick to my gut. You need to know what you are influencing people to do something.
I think for brands, it's really important to have a strong POV and then to be a part of that conversation than to just sit idle.
We know and can predict what's going to hit, what's going to go viral.
I'm going to start with you, Daniel.
Yes.
So PR used to be the gatekeeper. In The Devil Wears Prada, the era from 20 years ago, getting in a feature of a magazine, Runway, we all know, was everything. Today, when a TikTok creator can move product faster than full-time PR campaigns, what does influence actually mean now? And who really holds the power?
So, I've been around for a very long time. So I've been around for that transition from gatekeeping to complete accessibility. So I think gatekeeping is the operative word, because it was about a couple of people who had access to a few rooms, to money, to influence, and they would decide what we would like. And we would listen to them. Like we were fools, honey, because we would just listen to them. We wouldn't listen to ourselves. Now, the power is in with the audience. They're the ones that decide what is going to be trending that day. And that changes every day, as we know from our algorithm. So I think it's less about inaccessibility and more about all the accessibility we have and the information available to us than the fact that we have the power to do something with it. And all of us are influential for that reason, right? I mean, cheer, come on, we're influential. There you go. Thank you, Jen.
So let me just maybe move that part of the conversation forward a little bit. Carly, I want to ask you, luxury has always thrived on control, on curation, on scarcity. In a world where virality cannot be controlled, how do legacy brands like Louis Vuitton maintain their exclusivity without disconnecting from a generation that expects immediacy and access and now?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think, when you think about luxury and you think about brands like Louis Vuitton, there is that legacy and that heritage there. And carrying with curation and control, those things are never going to change. We are going to stick to that model forever. And that's how we continue to grow our legacy and our heritage. I think how we've evolved is the access to our content, the growth of our business. Our stores are in more places, and the audience has broadened. So we just take that same approach to how we try and affect the virality and making sure that we're controlled and we're curated and how we create that content and get our message out there. We have lots of new launches constantly, which creates that newness, and that's how we keep it going.
Absolutely. And at the end of the day, people that want luxury, they want luxury. And those people, regardless of the economic climate, are always there and they're a constant.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And the great thing about social media and just the democratization of visibility is only a good thing for luxury brands. People always look at it and think, well, now there is more opportunity out there when it comes to a lot of the other levels of brands, the mid-level, the streetwear levels. But as Miranda said herself, who is it that, started the entire ideology behind how we identify each season for fashion?
Yeah.
And Louis Vuitton is definitely one that's way up there on the totem pole when it comes to that. I'd love your comments on that.
We have to stay true to who we are, regardless of the landscape of the culture, of style. True legacy and true heritage comes from being strong in who we are as a brand. And always having those core collections, those core pieces that speak to that legacy and that heritage. But it's how we, like I said, strategically collaborate, whether it's partnerships with other creators or designers, and how we're looking at that landscape to take inspiration, to bring in and elevate and update heritage, to bring it to the here and now.
Absolutely. And Robson, oh my gosh, the world of beauty feels like it's gone through the most dramatic shift of all, right? When you look at editorial authority to TikTok tutorials as an artist trained in precision and legacy brands like Hermes. How do you balance true artistry with trends that change literally overnight?
So I stick to my gut because I think we always need to be ourselves, like Carly was saying. The legacy and everything you have as your background, that need to be always the first thing. You can use trends, but need to be smart with that. You don't need to do everything easy on trend. You can take a little bit from here, a little bit from there, but the most important, you have a background that is the education to know what you're doing, and also because as influencer, you need to know what you are influencing people to do something. So need to be very smart, and everybody need to know who is following, because also has amazing people there, but also has the opposite.
Absolutely. And I think that Daniel can attest to that. Daniel, PR used to be about placement. Today, it's become about momentum. Are algorithms democratizing the glamour industries, or are they just replacing old gatekeepers with new ones?
I mean, if you compare Canada to the United States, all those voices are still relevant here. We still have magazines, we still have editorial, we still have broadcast, maybe a lot less than what we did before. But I think there is a definite democratization. Everyone can be part of the conversation now. You can start it, I can start it, we can all have it together. And then tomorrow our opinions might change too, right? So I think for brands, it's really important to have a strong POV and then to be a part of that conversation than to just sit idle. I think that's what's really important. So you see all the drama, you see all the things that happen on social, but everyone's opinion changes daily. I'll use The Bachelorette as an example. It got canceled. Everybody had everything to say about it. But then the next day, the conversation was more in depth. It was about what do networks do when they're casting talent? How are they making decisions? And then that conversation continued to evolve. And then, I was lucky to be with a brand called OPI. Everybody loves OPI, right? So we were holding a screening for The Bachelorette, and we were kind of screwed because it got canceled the day we were going to do our event. But we decided to turn that into a moment of self-expression and self-commitment as opposed to finding love outside of yourself. And OPI was always a brand about color and expression anyway, so it was the perfect fit. They came in with that POV and they started that conversation, and everybody walked away with something powerful that evening. And I think we have to do that daily.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I feel that I need to ask you, Carly, to maybe talk a little bit about some influencing as well. There's a great saying that Miranda said, and she said it quite aptly: florals for spring, groundbreaking. How has real-time consumer behavior driven by algorithms changed how brands forecast demand, manage inventory, as well as even design collections today?
Yeah, that's another great question. And I think it depends on the brand. I'm here to speak about luxury, so I'll stick to that lane. But I think it's still very curated and controlled. Like I said before, we know the algorithm is there. We know and can predict what's going to hit, what's going to go viral, what we want to go viral, what we don't want to go viral. So when we're looking at our assortments and we're looking at planning our collaborations and our launches, we have that strategy in place. And as it materializes, we have the business engine behind it to back it up. And we see that materialize in our business. So whether it is our marketing strategy, knowing what is going to hit the market, we would then work with our supply chain partners and our logistics partners to ensure that we are preparing the stores to be able to fulfill that demand. And looking at the global landscape, again, going back to that controlled curation piece. I know I keep repeating it, but it is really important. It doesn't necessarily affect our designs specifically, but it affects the connection and the collaboration with partners, but also to our clients, and making sure that we're sticking true to, as our client base evolves based on the virality and the algorithm, that we're ahead of it and we're sort of driving it and not reacting to it.
That's such a great answer. And, it leads beautifully into a question that I want to ask you, Robson. We now live in a world where anyone can be an expert. Beauty is a testament to that. What concerns you most about that shift, and where do you see real expertise standing out?
Education, I think, is the number one. It's very important for us to always think about the education, because when you pretend you are expert, you're teaching people to do wrong things. And we need to be think always about everything you say, people is hearing. And maybe you transform a people life in a different way that if they have adequate education. So for me, all the professionals need to be educated, and experience is also something you bring you the background. And it's important for a makeup artist to know skin, bones, skin shades, many things that sometimes I see the person in front of the camera knows how to do only on themselves. And when they try to do in another person, it's not, don't work.
Doesn't translate.
Yeah, yes, exactly. So that's it from me.
And you know, the proof is in the pudding at the end of the day, right? How how you're able to really diversify and to be able to show your true artistry in any type of situation is the big difference here between an expert and an influencer. I have to say it, guys. I mean, I think it's really important that we do give a nod to the people that have done the work, that create the trends that everyone else follows, which is what a big part of this film really truly is about. Holly, I need to ask you this. Is luxury still about aspiration, or is it about belonging? Because now things are more, accessible than they ever were before.
Yeah, I think luxury will always be about aspiration, and that will never change. But we have evolved in order to welcome and incorporate new services and new products to be able to reach a broader market. And I think it's really important because in luxury, speaking to Louis Vuitton, we are a lifestyle brand. We're not just handbags. We have many different product categories, different price points. And so we want those aspirational clients to feel like they belong, to come into our stores and be a part of the brand in that way and find something that they can afford, or whether they've saved up for a year and they're ready to buy like a Neverfull, for example. And then we still are able to meet the level of our higher end market and our higher end clients and still maintain that level of luxury.
Absolutely. And at the end of the day, without aspirational living, what are we actually really even doing, right? There's always some aspiration that helps us accomplish that next goal, in our life. So whether it's buying the perfect handbag, getting the most perfect, facial treatments, putting yourself out there, it's important to be able to identify who you are as an individual. And with all of the accessibility available through all of the different technologies that are available today, I think, the world is a better place for it. I mean, I don't know,
Well, I just think that brands are offering more than just one thing, and there's a reason for that. People want more than one thing, and people will take what they can get just to feel like they belong somewhere, and we are welcoming that with open arms.
Absolutely. And Daniel, I got to come back to you on this. Has storytelling, because that's like the big word that everyone's been talking about since social media erupted, right? Has storytelling replaced status as the most powerful currency in PR today, where expertise is no longer a prerequisite to authority?
I mean, it certainly isn't a prerequisite anymore. I think it depends on the audience you're speaking to. I think especially as it comes to influencers, it's real world experience. It's less about your authority on the subject matter and more that I've used this concealer from this brand and it worked for me and it might work for you. And that's the point of accessibility and the entry point into that conversation. I was just talking to somebody else. I'm a beauty person, if you haven't already realized, but in Sephora, sometimes I don't know if I want to drop $60 on a certain brand, but I'll go and get a lip balm from them for 20 because then I can feel that brand and find out if that formulation is for me, read up a little bit about it, and then feel comfortable spending more. Kind of like how I'll get a wallet first before I might get a bag. You know, there's a process. There's a process to our spending, our thinking. There's a comfort attached to it. And so I think when influencers talk about that, that's the story they're sharing. They're like, let me just not tell you a story. Let's make you a part of it too. So I think that's the crux that I see being very powerful and influential right now.
Absolutely. Robson, I want to ask you this. I mean, Miranda has this famous line from the first film, as we know, truth is, no one can do what I do. Does this still hold true in today's world where gatekeepers, and I keep using that word because I think it's just so apt, gatekeepers have been largely replaced by influencers and accessibility?
So, as two ways to say this phrase. Yes and no. Yes, because you are a person different from everybody else. So the way you do, nobody can do because your culture, your background, your education. So nobody can replace this, but everybody's replaceable. So when you leave somebody else, you get your job and do better, worse, or similar, but never the same because you're unique.
I love that answer. Guys, we just have a few more minutes left, so I'm just going to throw a couple of rapid fire questions to the panel. First question for you, Robson, is if Miranda Priestley 1.0 existed today, would she be feared or cancelled?
Cancel because everybody has voice today.
Great answer. And Daniel, for you, influencers, essential or overrated?
Essential. You're essential to the conversation for sure.
Because
I want real people, I want real experiences, and I want real results.
here. And Carly? And Carly, for you, AI in luxury fashion, a collaborator or a threat?
Definitely a major collaborator. I think it's just about how we use it. And, you know, in my world, in my business, I'm all about efficiency. So it kind of gives us more time to connect directly with each other and our clients and let the AI do all the work of telling us how we should do it and what we should propose and all of that. So a definite collaborator.
Absolutely. So to close off, guys, you know I have to ask this question to each of you. Daniel, we'll start with you, then Carly, then Robson. Your favorite line from the first The Devil Wears Prada film?
Raj, go bore someone else with your questions.
Okay, for me, these are words that I live by, and it helped me get into my dress today. A little Crisco and some fishing line, and we're in business.
Congratulations, girl. A million girls would kill for your job.
Absolutely. Guys, thank you so much for an incredible panel discussion. It was short but sweet. Please give it up for Daniel Pillai, Carly Zaidlin, and Robson Olivieri.